Before we start properly, I want to apologise in advance if I mispronounce the French names. I am looking them up when I can. Secondly, I'll also mention that image credits can be found in the description, as has always been the case with this series. And with that being said, let's begin. Welcome back to Obscure Offerings, the series in which I look at some little known locomotives or multiple units with the aim of giving more exposure to said motive power. Today's video is slightly different, in that I will be talking about both a route and its accompanying train. This is the history of the Lyon Metro MCL80 stock, but first a bit of context. The Lyon Metro is a mostly underground network of 4 rapid transit lines serving the aforementioned city. For the purposes of this video, Line C is really the only one we're going to focus on. Line C is the shortest of the 4 lines, running for 2.5 km from Hôtel de Ville Louis Pradel to Gier. It's also the only Lyon Metro line to use conventional steel wheels and rails instead of rubber tyres. And here is one of those trains that does use rubber tyres. This is the MPL85, which runs on Line D. Despite its rather short length, Line C has 5 stations, one of which is apparently the steepest metro station in Europe, and I'll explain how that came about shortly. The YouTube channel Metro Gone has a couple of cab ride videos on this line, which I highly recommend checking out. The most bizarre aspect of Line C, especially for a metro line, is the use of a rack rail part of the route, and that insane 17% incline at Causses station. This is because the current line reuses part of the formation of an old funicular, which ran from Causses down to Causses. That funicular opened in 1891 and survived until 1972, when it was closed and converted into a rack railway. During the conversion, the original Causses station was retained, while a new station was built at Causses, with this one using the cut and cover method. In 1978, this short route was extended to Hôtel de Ville and integrated into the Lyon Metro system. As for rolling stock, at this point in its history the line had 3 rail cars, which were numbered MC1 to MC3. As part of that extension, the old Causses station was demolished and replaced by the current one, which is on that 17% gradient that leads down to Hôtel de Ville station. In 1984, Line C was extended north to Gier, with a new intermediate station at Ernon. And this is where the MCL80 trains finally enter the story, for they were built between 1979 and 1983 by Alstom and the Swiss Locomotive and Machine Works. There were only 5 of these 2-car units built, and they are very similar to the MPL75 trains found on Lines A and B. As for technical specifications, a complete MCL80 unit is 36.6 metres long, 2.89 metres wide, and 3.58 metres tall. Each unit can seat 100 people with an extra 300 standing. They run on 4-foot 8.5-inch gauge track, and are the only Lyon Metro units to collect electricity from overhead wires instead of a third rail. The website called Furfaro Lyon has a very informative article about the MCL80, which I've linked in the description. Suffice to say, it was quite a useful source for this video, as it goes into a lot more detail about these units, and indeed the Lyon Metro network as a whole, than I was expecting. The individual coaches are numbered from 201 to 210, with each unit comprising 1 odd and 1 even numbered coach. The even numbered ones are always at the southern end. First arriving in Lyon in December 1984, the MCL80s replaced MC1 and her 2 sisters, though these older units weren't finally withdrawn until 1988. Fortunately, MC3 has since been preserved, and is now on display at the Citaro Museum in Mwmbwls. As for the MCL80s, they are still running on Line C to this day, with no replacements coming anytime soon. The units were given a midlife overhaul between 2005 and 2008, which included a repaint in this nice white livery with red trim and grey doors. In all honesty, I never liked their original orange livery. Meanwhile, Line C has never been extended since 1984, and is still that short 2.5 km route with the following 5 stations: Hôtel de Ville Louis Pradel, Causses, Causses, Enon, and Gier. For reference, the southern terminus, Hôtel de Ville, is an interchange with Line A, the 9.2 km long route from Perrache to Vaux-en-Velin-la-Soie. Hôtel de Ville is also the only station where Line C connects with the rest of the Lyon Metro network. Unlike the other three lines, this one has a couple of above-ground sections, specifically at Quai station and most of the Enon to Gier section. The depot isn't too far north of Enon, and is near the point where the main line comes out into the open air. Incidentally, Quai and Gier are the only two stations on the Lyon Metro that are not underground. Thinking back to the MCL80 trains, it's impressive to see them still running after 38 years. And despite never having been to France, let alone Lyon, I'm sure that Line C is a fascinating route to see and ride on, especially when Quai station is at such a dizzying angle. And here is an example of what the MCL80 sounds like. And with that, I think I'd better go ahead and end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, and feel free to check out the previous episodes in this series.